Hey y'all, I'm Hope, and it's the beginning of week 3 of the May the Force Read with You readathon. That's not actually entirely accurate, it's actually Monday evening now. I've been starting these on Sundays, and that didn't happen this week because I ended up going to Best Buy with my partner to look at laptops because the one I had was massive. I had bought a 17-inch laptop during the pandemic, which I loved. It's a great computer, but my circumstances have changed a little bit. I'm doing a lot more traveling and moving around, and with everything I have going on this summer, I needed something that was going to be more portable but also allow me to take my work, including like my video editing work, my thesis work, and also my games on the go. And so I went and looked at laptops, and I did end up getting a new one. I have gotten a Lenovo now. I had an Asus before, and I really liked the Asus. There was nothing wrong with the Asus, but I'm selling it to a friend of mine so that she has a really good computer, and I'm just gonna move on with the Lenovo because it's going to suit my needs a lot better. So I did that on Sunday, and I didn't do any reading. And then this morning I had to get up and go to work after having finished my revised draft of my thesis. I actually polished it off this afternoon. A friend of mine offered to read it for me because she is an absolute gem and she's a great proofreader. I proofread a lot of her stuff during her master's degree, and she has very kindly agreed to proofread a lot of my stuff for my master's degree, and she's really good at giving feedback when something doesn't make sense, if phrasing is weird, or if something is too jargony, or because I'm doing a lot of like game studies type stuff, she's really good at pointing out if I'm giving like too much or too little detail on something that might be unfamiliar to my reader. So it's been really great being able to get some feedback from her, and she had offered to read it this morning, and so I sent it off to her and I finished it this afternoon, and I have turned it in. So my revised draft of my thesis has been sent in to my advisor, and now I wait for another week until I get feedback on that. So that means that all this week I'm pretty much free to do what I want, which is fantastic because I have a lot of reading to catch up on, and I'm also probably going to do some gaming and some crafting as well while I have the time, because I know I'm going to have to go through probably a couple more iterations of my thesis before it's done. But I am feeling very relieved to have that turned in, and now I'm actually going to get to do some reading. Still basically reading what I've been reading the last 2 weeks because I've been so busy with my thesis, and bear with me, I need to move stuff. That means that I am still reading Spirits Abroad. I'm actually, I think, like 4 stories behind at the moment because I have not read it all in the last few days. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and get caught up on these this evening as soon as I'm done with the video editing I'm doing. That's the other thing I'm working on. I am trying to get tomorrow's video and Saturday's video edited. So I'm gonna try, and let me just smack myself in the ear with a book. I'm gonna try and finish those 4 stories later today, which will have me caught back up again. And I'm also gonna try and read some of It's Witchcraft, which again, I am still reading this from last week. I just have not been able to balance reading and working on the thesis at the same time. So now that it's turned in, I'm full steam ahead on my reading, and I have a lot of time this week available to do that, so I'm excited. The only other thing I've got going on is I think at the end of the week, I think I know at the end of the week, I'm going to visit my aunt. I'm driving over on Friday and staying through Sunday of next week. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I probably won't do a lot of filming while I'm there, but I may get some good B-roll of her farm cats. She has a bunch of farm cats. She lives on an old, how many times can I say in a sentence? She lives on in an old farmhouse on like a 9-acre property or something like that. I can't remember exactly how much land that they have, but I'm gonna go visit her and my uncle, and that'll be really fun, and I haven't gotten to do that in a while. So yeah, it's gonna be a good week. It's gonna be hopefully a relaxing week after everything I've gotten done. I do need to write an interest letter at some point, but that's not nearly as pressing. It's due at the beginning of June. So for now, I'm gonna finish some video editing and then hopefully do some reading. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the next time I come back to update you guys, I won't be talking about the same 2 books, or rather I'll be finishing those 2 off. So Tuesday now, and I gotta say it feels great to be coming home and have my thesis done and not have anything academic I have to think about immediately, so I'm able to use my afternoon for some other things I need to get done. So first of all, I've got to put away some laundry. Very exciting. I also have done some filming since I got home, since the lighting was pretty good and I wanted to make use of that while I could. So I did a little bit of So I've done a little bit of filming, and I'm getting ready to do some editing so that I can get my next couple of videos edited and ready to go, and that'll be great. I'm trying to get as much ahead as I can generally on anything that I can kind of film ahead, just because it makes my life a little bit easier, and especially because I know I'm going to be getting some feedback on my thesis at some point, and I'm probably going to be doing more iterations of that. So buying myself some more time in the future is, I think, a good idea. So I'm going to do that, and then hopefully I'm just going to spend the rest of the evening chilling and reading. I might play something later, because I did just download Pentiment. I want to give that a try, because my friend recommended that one. She said she played like the beginning of it, and it was really interesting, so curious to see what that's like. I know that one is like, it's a mystery game, but it's set in, I think, the 16th century, and it's all made to look like an illuminated manuscript, which I think is really interesting, so I'm excited about that. So I'm probably going to play some of that at some point. But yeah, I don't know what else the afternoon is going to hold. Just going to kind of play it by ear and do whatever I feel like doing, because I actually have time to do that now. It's Wednesday evening and I've been cleaning my bathroom, but I did also just finish It's Witchcraft by Cole McCade. So that's my second book done for the month, and I'm really excited about it. This was the 5th book. This is the 5th book in a series, and I'm really enjoying the series, but I think that this installment was not quite as successful as the earlier ones. I think I'm gonna give this like maybe 3.5 to 4 stars. I'll probably do 3.5 and round up. But I think that the pacing in this one was not as well done, and the mystery wrapped up just a little too quickly and a little too neatly. So I think that all the elements that I liked were there, but they just weren't quite in proportion. Because the first part of this book, like the first 25% of it, was all just, it was all character work, and I love the character work in these books, but there's like, most of that first 25% is just one scene in a gym, and it just goes on for far too long, and it's laying some important pieces, but I think it was just far too descriptive, and it just took way too long for the story to get moving, because you have this really intense, hi Pumpkin, my cat is putting his paws on my back. Let's see if we can, you wanna come up and say hello? Here he is. You have this really intense prologue where the murder happens, and so you kind of know what's happening there, and then that's maybe the first 2% of the book, and it takes up until like maybe 25% into the book, okay bye, before that ever comes up again. So you get this really intense murder right at the start, and then it just doesn't go anywhere for a good long while. So I think that that was a little bit frustrating for me as a reading experience, because I wanted to know what was going to happen there. And again, I really like the character work in these, and I do like the direction that the main character's relationship took in this particular installment, but I think it was just too much of that. It was too front-loaded, because normally you have this nice interweaving in a lot of these books in the series between character stuff and investigation stuff, and this felt very much like it was broken into 3 segments, where you have like lots of character stuff, chunk of investigation, and then there's like a long bit of character stuff in the middle of the investigation, and then the investigation wraps up really neatly, and you're only 70% into the book, and there is a whole nother chunk, a whole nother section, that's what I was trying to say, that's more character work, and it's kind of like taking a step back and looking at the threads for the macro plot for the series. Because if I haven't mentioned this before, I can't remember if I have in this vlog or not, the series Criminal Intentions is structured to be like a TV show, so like each book is like an episode in a TV show, and then there's like multiple seasons of 13 books each. And so there's like a macro plot that's happening across it that's very like Criminal Minds-esque, and then each individual story is its own mystery. But I think this one just, it was more broken up, where I felt like lots of character work, lots of investigation, lots of macro plot. And normally in the previous books it's been much more interwoven, so the pieces have all kind of meshed together a little bit better. And this was just not as compelling a read for parts of it than some of the other ones. I am interested though to see where the macro plot is going, because things are starting to get really twisty and I really don't know what to expect from that going forward. So I am looking forward to reading more in the series. This installment just wasn't as successful for me. So that's kind of where I'm at with my reading. I have also read a little bit more of this and I'm almost caught up again, but I think I can probably, helps if I hold it the right direction, I think I can probably finish this tomorrow, which I think I'm gonna try and do because then I'm visiting family over the weekend. So it'll be good if I don't have to pack something quite this thick. I may take my Kindle instead and read another ebook, or I may start one of these other books sitting on my desk. Not quite sure yet what I'm gonna do, but I am gonna try and polish off Spirits Abroad tomorrow. So that's kind of what I have going on. Like I said, I've been cleaning my bathroom, so nothing terribly exciting. And I've got a little bit of editing to do tomorrow as well, because there is one of my old work friends from where I worked before I was a graduate student in the office I worked in. She's been working on a project with some kind of distant friend or family members, working on putting together a poetry collection for someone that she's, I think, kind of distantly related to. I can't remember the exact connection right now. But they're putting together this poetry book and it's really an interesting project, and I have been providing some editing here and there when she's needed someone to make sure that, you know, everything reads nicely and that it's good to go. So I have offered to do another read through for her because they're at a further along point. I also helped her put together a website. So I'll link that website down in the description below because I think it's pretty cool. It's bardofconnemara.weebly.com. We used Weebly because it was one that I was already familiar with. I don't think it's the best web platform necessarily, but I was familiar with it, so that's what we went with. But I'll link that in the description down below in case you want to go check it out. Very cool poetry. I'm not a poetry person, but I did think that the pieces that I have read so far were really good, and I think it's a really interesting project. So again, I'll put that there so you can check it out if you want to. But yeah, that's kind of what I got going on. And I think for the rest of the evening, I'm either going to start Pentiment because I've been wanting to play that, or I might see if my friend is available to play some more Trials and Tribulations. Not sure yet what's exactly going to happen. Probably going to take a break from reading and play some games because I think I've read most of that book today. So, well, we have gone slightly off the TBR, just a little bit. But I'm planning to finish Spirits Abroad today still. But I've also started volume 2, sorry, of Jujutsu Kaisen because my library hold on that one came in. My library has a pretty significant number of the volumes, so I've decided to read them that way now instead of buying all of them because there's like 25 of them. So I got my hold in on that and started reading it. About a third of the way through of that. And I think because I needed to read it since, you know, library hold, I'm going to use that for the Ewok prompt. So I'm gonna do Ewok instead of Wookiee just because I needed to. So that one was to read a graphic novel or manga or a comedy, I think. I know graphic novel manga was one half of it. I can't remember what the other half was, but I think it was comedy. So I'm gonna do Ewok instead of Wookiee. Other than that, gonna stick with the same TBR, or at least try to, but it's entirely possible we'll go off plan again. But for the moment, it is Thursday morning. My cats are, you can just barely see. I don't know. It's Elwood, okay. So Elwood is over here because the garbage truck just came up the street and he's very interested in that. So, hanging out with my cats. I'll go get some breakfast and then I'm probably going to either read another chunk of Spirits Abroad or finish Jujutsu Kaisen before work. So one of those two things, and or work on my crochet because I haven't in a few days, but we'll see. But yeah, that's kind of the direction we're going now, and it's possible we may go further off the TBR because I finished one book last night and immediately stood and stared at the stack on my desk like I'm not in the mood for any of these. So I don't know what we're gonna do yet after I get through this, but I guess we'll find out. I managed to finish Jujutsu Kaisen volume 2. I think I said 3 earlier on accident, but I finished volume 2 today and it was fun. It was a little confusing, I think more so than the first volume. I was a little unsure what was going on at some points, but I'm really liking all the characters. There's some weird new characters who've been added, and there's also a bit of a twist that's been introduced. Not really a twist, I guess. It's just that there's a new antagonist where you have one antagonist introduced in volume 1, and now there's a new set of antagonists who've been introduced who it's unclear what exactly their goal is, but it doesn't seem to be in line with the original antagonist goal. So I'm interested to see where all of that is going to go. Definitely still having fun, but I definitely don't think I'm going to be buying the rest of this series. Going to continue reading them from my library because it's enjoyable, but I don't know that it's something I would feel strongly about having on my shelves. So I finished that, and that gets me the Ewok prompt. So that's going to be the species for my character, so that's really fun. And now I am about to do some editing I need to do for a friend of mine. I think I mentioned that earlier. So I told her I would try to get back to her sometime this afternoon. So I'm gonna try and do that. And then I am on the last 3 stories of Spirits Abroad, so I will knock that out soon as well. So I feel like the afternoon is going fairly well. I'm also doing some laundry, so this is a good time for me to be doing some like editing and some reading, because I just, you know, every hour or so I gotta go cycle the laundry, but other than that, it's a good time to just get some stuff done. We're back in exactly the same place as always. Yes, I do spend most of my life in this room. I hang out in here a lot. But I finished Spirits Abroad, and I really enjoyed this. I think I'm gonna give it 4.5 stars because there were a couple of stories that like I got what they were trying to do, but I don't think they were entirely successful. But there were some in here that I absolutely loved that really hit me hard in the heart and made me feel for the characters and made me cry. And I just feel like this was a really successful short story collection overall in terms of its project, in terms of the different emotional tones that it was hitting. So I'm really glad that I picked it up, and I'm looking forward to reading more from this author. I do have one other book from them on my shelf, which is Blackwater Sister, that I haven't read yet, but I'm really looking forward to reading it after this because this was such a fun collection. I also want to mention like a few of my favorites, so I'm pulling open the list so I can find them. I really like The First Witch of Damansara, which is about a woman going home again after her, like, to Malaysia. She's living somewhere in the West. She's going home to Malaysia in the wake of her grandmother's death, and then there's something odd going on with the grandmother. I really liked that one. I also really like The House of Aunts. I think that one's a really good one. And then there's Rising Lion, The Lion Bows, and Seven Star Drum, which are 2 stories that are both following a lion dance group who are also ghost hunters. And I really enjoyed both of those stories. And then I also really liked Prudence and the Dragon and The Terracotta Bride. So those are probably my favorites in here, and I think those are the ones that are going to stick with me the most. But I really enjoyed everything in here, and I feel like this was a really strong collection. So I'm glad to have finished that, and that means that I have now gotten droids for my allies, and that's very exciting. And now I need to pick what I'm going to read next, which has proven to be quite difficult. I had my little stack here. Sorry, I've got a balance board. I'm knocking into the leg of my desk. I had a stack here of all the books that I originally had planned to read for all of the ability prompts, and I was sitting here looking at them and realizing that I'm just not in the mood for any of them, because I had a classic, I had a young adult gothic that I've not heard great reviews for, and I have a slasher that I'm very excited for, but I'm doing a lot of my reading in the evenings right now, and I don't really need to be reading a slasher before bed because I know that will fuck me up. So now I've got to go stare at my shelves for a little bit and decide what I'm going to read, and I'm probably going to end up shifting all of my plans around. So we will see what I end up choosing. I'm really not sure yet, but I will hopefully know tomorrow morning. I'll get that figured out in the next little bit while I'm packing. I'll think about it then, because I've got to pack to go visit my aunt for the weekend, which is going to be a lot of fun. For that reason, I think I might end up picking an ebook, just because, like, this is going to be much easier to pack than an actual physical book, and this will also give me a lot more choices. And I have a library book on here that I may default to, that's one I'd already started that I need to finish. So not sure what I'm going to read next yet, but I will figure that out while I'm packing in the next little bit. Sorry if the angle changed, but I actually have kind of decided what I think I'm going to read next. Or rather, I've got it down to kind of 2 options. I think I know which one I'm leaning towards, but I have 2 that I'm kind of considering. And I was basically thinking through the prompts I had already chosen that I was interested in fulfilling, and thinking whether there was anything else I could sub in for those. So one of them was Force Lightning, which I had gotten through the telekinesis neutral prompt to, you know, steal a dark side prompt and put it on my TBR. And this was to read a book you're shocked you haven't read yet. And I'm thinking I'm probably gonna end up using The Unspoken Name by A.K. Larkwood for this one, because this is a book that I was really interested in when it first came out, and my best friend read it and she said it was fantastic. She really likes it and she's been raving about it for a very long time, trying to get me to read it. And I've just been putting it off because I'm afraid of being disappointed after hearing so many good things about it. But also, she's never ever been wrong about whether I'm gonna like a book. If she says I'm gonna like a book, she's gonna be right. She has never been wrong in all of the years that I've known her. So I need to just read it so we can talk about it. And I am really shocked that I haven't read it yet, just because she has recommended it so highly to me. So I am probably gonna read that one for Force Lightning. And then the other book, which is actually the one that I think I'm leaning more towards for this weekend, because I've kind of drifted over to it on my shelves and taken it out and read the description several times in the last week. And this one is The Force of Stolen Girls, which I'd be reading for a plant surge because it's got nature on the cover, lots of flowers here. Apparently I enjoy Suffering because this is Junher's second book, and the first one, her debut, genuinely had me sobbing at my desk for a while after I finished it. It was just beautifully written, and I really enjoyed the main character in that one. I enjoyed the way that Junher had written friendships and familial relationships, and I just thought it was all really well done, and it really packed a punch in a way I was not expecting. I don't read a lot of YA, but read one book from her, and like, Junher is not a bi author for me now. Like, that one book was just so well done, and I'm really interested to see what she's doing in these later books. So this is her second book, and this one is following Huani and Maywol, I think. I've forgotten the second sister's name, but I think Huani is the is the POV character. And when they were very young, something happened to them. They disappeared into the woods, and then they came back out. They survived, but their father was a detective who was trying to solve the apparent suicide of a young girl who had apparently jumped off a cliff, and he never solved that case. And now, many years later, he's found out that more girls are going missing in the same forest where his daughters went missing and where this other girl died. And he's gone back to try and solve what's going on, only to disappear. And so his daughters return to try and figure out what's happened to him. And there seems to be a rift growing between them, and Huani is trying both to figure out what's going on with her sister and also find out what happened to their father. And I just think this sounds like it's going to be brilliant and emotional and probably heart-wrenching, and I'm so excited to read it. Oh, I should also mention this is set in Korea in the 15th century, and I'm just really excited to read it. I think it's going to be wonderful, even though I know it's probably just going to like stab me right in the heart. Alright, well, I am mostly packed for my trip this weekend. I need to put my computer and my book in my bag, and then I think I'm ready to go. Got everything else packed. Got some of my laundry done, so I'll have to finish that when I get home on Sunday, but mostly ready to go. Last thing I need to pack, besides the computer and the book, is this camera, so that at the very least I have it. Hopefully I'll remember to actually use it, because my aunt has a really cool old farmhouse, and I probably won't show you like everything, but if I think about it, I'm gonna try and remember to at least get some footage of like her cats and some of her cool like furniture projects she's doing. So hopefully I remember to get this out. My cats are fighting behind me, being little zoomy boys this morning. They're not very happy with me for packing because they do not like it when I leave. But they'll be okay. My mom will be here all weekend with them, and they'll love that. They'll get lots of cuddles in with her. It's gonna be a good trip. I've just gotta finish up these last couple of things, put together a lunch so I can eat before I leave, because I'm about to eat on campus, so I need to take something with me. And then stop freaking out about having to drive on my own. I have not made this particular trip by myself before. I have driven it with my mom before, but I've not made it myself. So therefore I have logistics anxiety about it, because I'm like, oh, what if I miss my turn? I've been on this route like a million times. I've driven it myself with mom in the car multiple times, but I've also been the passenger on this trip numerous times. So it's a route I know really well, but just having not driven it by myself, I have some like, logistics anxiety about that. So it'll be okay, but it's gonna be really fun, and I'm excited to go see my aunt and uncle because that'll be a good weekend. It's been a long time since I've gone and just like hung out with them for a while, so it'll be good. These boys have knocked over the laundry basket so they can play in it. A second ago, Elwood was all the way inside of it hiding from Pumpkin. So I just got home from my aunt's house a little bit ago. Been like getting all my stuff put down and settled back in and all that good stuff. But I thought I would just jump in real quick here and put together a little summary and an outro for this week. So I did manage to finish 2 books so far this week, and that was It's Witchcraft by Cole McCade, which I read for Chance of Force, and Spirits Abroad for Droids. So I got 2 prompts done, which is very exciting. And then I have also started The Forest of Stolen Girls by June Hur. I'm not very far in yet. I think I'm like 15 pages or so, but I'm really liking this already. We have the setup of like, it's the 1400s, and there's a young girl, not young, but like she's 18. And she is dressed up as a boy to go and investigate stuff so she can move freely in a way that she couldn't if she was going under her own identity and in a way that's safer for her. And so she is dressed up as a boy. She is off to investigate her father's disappearance because she doesn't believe that the police couldn't find anything, and she needs to know what happened. So I'm really interested in seeing where this is gonna go, and as usual, I'm really liking June Hur's writing and the way that she's setting up the characters. So I am a little ways into this, and that's probably what I'm gonna read the next week. And then I also had a little bit of book mail arrive because I got my copy of Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, which I was very excited about. And I was actually hoping this was going to arrive before the weekend because I probably would have taken this one with me. But I think I'm going to sub this one in for my lightsabers prompt since this is yellow. And the lightsaber is the color wheel one where you have to pick a color that's the opposite of your favorite color. And my favorite color is purple, and yellow is the opposite of purple. So I'm probably going to go ahead and read this for lightsaber. So I'm excited about this. So I'm suspecting that kind of this is what next week is gonna look like. And I feel like that's gonna be fun. Going into next week, I'm feeling pretty good. I will have some academic stuff to do next week, but nothing I think too strenuous, so it's all good. But yeah, that's all I have for you today. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, I hope you'll consider giving it a like, maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. I'm currently posting every Tuesday and Saturday, so there is more content coming soon, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.